Hi, this is Jeremy, aka Mr. Variety. Jeremy DeNovo, that's my mom. Picture of my mom up there, and another picture. And then that's my dad. I gotta get more pictures of dad and all the rest of the fam. But mom and dad, I think it's safe to say I can share their image. You can hear I'm under the weather right now. I've been dealing with this for the past week, voice loss, but hopefully I'm taking the right stuff to fix it. The reason I'm here right now is to do an update on the jeans that I'm working on. And we're here on the YouTube channel of Who Needs Designers. That's at sign Who Needs Designers, all one word, proper spelling. At sign Who Needs Designers. That's for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all other stuff. But aside from feeling this way a little bit, I've been taking it easy as much as possible. Remember, health above all, and then to improve. So you got to take care of your health first, because if you're not here, you're not here. So take care of yourself. Keep yourself here first, and before you work on other people being here. Not a doctor advice, but just sort of like, well, if you think about it for just a second, you don't need to go to school to learn that. So going back to school here. So I was getting these seam ripped with my seam ripping tool. I like to use this larger one. It's a bit bigger handle for the jeans. Oh man, this is something you get really good at if you're in any kind of really good trade, is finding stuff. And also I use these scissors. While sewing jeans, I use this little guy. I can't remember what it's called. We have a special tool. You also use denim. So I'm going to, there's these areas that got big holes in them, gaping holes. I'm going to concern myself with the ones that are right next door to here. With mending, you use a featherweight FF something or other, but it's a featherweight interfacing from Pellon, Pellon. That's what I use, where I mend on the inside, I press that on the inside, and then that the interfacing piece is there, and then I go ahead and I do a mending stitch using the Viking Jade 20 sewing machine, and that mending stitch is stitch number 28. Where are we at? 28. And it just goes over it a bunch of times until it is mended automatically using this thread. Right now I have the top stitch thread loaded in there. It's all those neat little denim fibers in there. I decided I would go all the way down, seam rip all the way down to that point and then stop. What I did instead was I got Freight Check by Dritz. Probably there's some other companies that make this kind of stuff, but I just put the Freight Check here, and also I do the backside. So that way all the thread just stays there. And then right here. Now imagine if this Bartok stitch, things are going to be pretty tough and intact. So I stopped there as well. So again, I put the freight check there and there. And that should hold things together, because, well, what I got to do, once I get this mended using that stitch number 28, I'm going to be sewing these jeans back down. See, these are kind of funky. You know, at first you're like, yeah, jeans, it's not a problem. But you're like, wait a sec. That's a fold. It's just one fold there. And that's a fold. But you got to keep it folded in like as much as possible so it's not sticking out. But they're like, oh, it's just one fold there, right? Wrong. There's two folds right there. So you got to make sure you have both those folds. As long as they just keep those intact the way they are, and I have a guideline as to where to sew, I should be just fine. Freaking pokey objects trying to kill me. But isn't it always? So I've got that, and then I saved where these Levi's, where those were at. I just pinned that down so it just stays where it needs to stay. So I need to get it out of the way for a second. Okay, so that's one. And then there's another one. I think I might have been showing you this one earlier. Yep. But there's a second one. keep it slipping. Second one here, same idea. I just kept that where it is because I don't want to mess with that. And the cross stitching there, I don't want to mess with that. Just this one. So that way I can, at least when I put the jeans back together, they're gonna have a very strong hold. So I gotta sew this. It's just kind of interesting, you know. I'll probably have to do some manual sewing a little bit, but I'll do most of it by machine, going down and up, you know, as far as I can, you know, to get these sewn. But at least in deconstructing these jeans, I'm able to see these pockets. I can see how I can make pockets. So this is why I'm glad I'm documenting this. So that it is repeatable. Now I thought for a second, now there's a third hole up here. I'm like, do I want to mess with that? I'll let the customer decide. If they want to just patch that and leave it as it is, or if they want me to fix it just like I fixed these guys, but, you know, risk me taking that apart, put it back together, and all that time, effort, and all that stuff. So there's a couple different stitches. I have to measure this to see how large this actually is away from the edge. But if it's a 1/4 inch, then that's good, because I have a 1/4 inch that, and I also have a quarter inch stitch in a ditch, which basically the 1/4 inch stitch in a ditch pressing foot rides that ditch right there. But yet the needle sews over here perfectly. So that's my goal, is to kind of accomplish that twice. Now this one's a little bit different. This one's not just across the edge, so I can probably just manually, well, I can follow this line, you know, as to where it is, and then just stitch it down. But I'll use something that will keep the seams perfectly straight. It's called the Ideal Seam Guide. That's my company called well, Ideal Seam Gauge. Maybe that's the name of the company. I don't know. But that's what it's called. Oh, it's made by these guys. SewVerySmooth.com. Yeah. Anyway, that's all. I'll be keeping those lines really straight. It's going to be a job, though. Now, I do actually own a double needle that's denim, so I could possibly use a double needle. That'd be the first time I'm using the double needle, so I can probably just pull that out and then put that on here. Let me just go do that. Okay. Where's all this stuff? Of course you're going to fall. Everything here is kind of temperamental, but not too difficult to manage. Where are we at? Denim. Oop. There's twin denim. I can go with that one. Oh, there's one that's not as thick. More denim. Twin stretch. Twin denim. There we go. That one's the one I want. The twin universal, but then this one's twin denim. Kind of thicker. I don't know if I need that thick. 4 millimeters thick. So I could probably try that one, but chances are I'll probably just go ahead and do this one instead. That's closer to my denim needle, which my denim needle is, I'm not using that thick one. I'm just using a 90. So that's what I'm using right now. So we'll stick with this here. If I were to use canvas or something with lighter weight, but yet thick to punch through, maybe I'll use this one. Yep. And you might ask, why do I have a bunch of pins here and a bunch of pins here? Well, this pin set is actually connected to my leather needle. It's a really big, thick needle when I have to sew through leather. And that goes with this kit here that has a upholstery thread in different colors, 2 different colors right now, and also some bobbins that are threaded with upholstery thread, and some other needles for upholstery. But then also, what's about this here? So I got another one of these downstairs that I use to fill up with pins when I'm doing pinning on my fabric work table, a custom fabric work table. That way I have a set of pins down there when I'm working on something. So I need to take some pins out of there and put them back in the one that I drew from. There's a flow of operations to all this. It's kind of cool, you know. Oh, this fell. Hold on. Get this thread all. That kind of looked cool in some jeans. Some cool thread, red thread. But I'm not going to do that right now. Just move on. Put that there. All right. And then one of the things you notice here, bad. You always want freight check standing up. Otherwise, you'll have to take a needle and poke it through the head of the bottle just to open it back up again. So, but if you always stand it up, you won't have that problem. There we go. Sturdy table. Anyway, that's my goal with these jeans. Now, I'm kind of curious. Will this actually, I'm doing the math here. Now that looks a little bit smaller. Well, I was hopeful that it would be the right size. That's 3 millimeters apart, it says. Now, if I had something to measure with right away, I'd be able to tell if that's 3 millimeters right there. 3 millimeters. Crap, it's in inches. All right, there we go. So 3 millimeters. Stop sliding on it. Anyway, I'm coming. It's coming together. No. So a millimeter is one of those little tiniest possible marks right there. So we got, get this thing as flat as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like that's 5 millimeters. That line right there, whereas that's 3 millimeters. That'd be too small. So I do have to actually go over this thing twice, but that's okay. I don't mind doing that. With this, I don't have to go over it one time and get the same kind of result. Good to know, though. Unless, yeah, these are small, but that's even bigger and wider. But I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to touch this one. But again, that's even wider. So anyway, put that back there. Maybe when I make my own jeans or something, you know. Okay, anyway, that's what I plan to do with these jeans is mend them downstairs. Let me take you downstairs for a second. Well, welcome to the downstairs. It's kind of low light mode with these cool little lights, but let me turn the lamp on. And this is kind of a jeans fixing. Another one. I have 2 of these. One of them someplace else. I gotta find that. Jesus. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. That took a few minutes, but shop's in better shape. I just always like to account for my tools. That's fine. I'll just charge this up later. But I did find the second one, which actually is important that I did that because it's actually a different shape. So in case I needed to get into a more narrow space, I could. You know, or just have both of these working together in tandem. But on this little box, or this tub, it says etch name. I don't know. Oh, if I want to etch my name on a small patch, and I can stitch freehand with my upholstery, my embroidery setup, not embroidery. Well, anyway, I got a bobbin that can help me stitch freehand. I can choose white, pink, or blue, maybe on a pocket or something like that. This is top stitch. I got a couple of those. I got a couple of those as well. Actually, I got 3 top stitch ones, I think, total. I think I'll do a lot more top stitch than I will the blue denim thread. I have it in case. This is very valuable tool, seam gauge. So earlier I was like, hey, how big is this this seam on these jeans? Well, let's find out. So let's see, all the way from one edge to the next. About, let's see what that is. Gotta get it completely flat. Get point to point here. Roughly quarter of an inch. Yeah, because I don't know how many millimeters that is. Is that right? Quarter of an inch? Well, anyway, you saw here. I can go back in the footage and be like, that's not a quarter inch. What the heck are you thinking? You know? But anyway, from that point to that point, whatever that is, I think the small ones are millimeters. So 1 from the left, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeters. So my guess is 5 millimeters. And anyway, which I think is a ½ inch. I don't know. Excuse me. So the stuff I've got here, and this is a bit of a custom setup, so you're not going to find, well, maybe you will find people that have this stuff set up the way I have it set up, but I haven't. So the stuff I was talking about earlier, I use this stuff, and I use the iron, so I can use the iron as a press. Yep, use this, pull it inside out, until I completely pull it inside out, get it completely flat, pick out a piece that I like, cut it to fit, and then press it on there. And after that, it is pressed. I have that fully mended, fully interfaced, pressed. I'll go ahead and go to town and get to mending on that. But the biggest job for me, as of late, was figuring out how to take these off. So I noticed on the back, you go ahead and pop, and then usually use the seam ripper thing with a pointy edge, and you just turn it till eventually it goes through a loop of the thread you're trying to pull, which in this case is this top stitch thread that's orange, which I already did the job here, which is why it's not there. And you twist, and then you're in, and you go pop. I like to pop all the ones that are on, like here, and then go a few different stitches down, pop again, and then I can go underneath that section that I've freed up. I can just completely turn it all the way. Do it all the way until I get to the end. Now, this is completely clean, that end. But then you still have this thread on top. The nice thing about the thread on top is nothing's holding it down. Whoop. And then use the scissors. And again, freight check right here on both sides. So that way that's secured and you don't have to mess with that. But anyway, other than these big gaping holes, that was not as big and gaping, but it is gaping enough. This is a pretty cool pair of jeans. Again, I'm gonna let the customer decide if they want me to fix that third hole, or if they want me to just leave it there and then they can stitch it up because it's not very visible. But these two holes are very visible, and they're closer to the inner buttock of the jean, where I think a lot more, wear and tears happen on them. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? But I'll fix what I'll fix, So that's what I got going on here. So eventually I'll cut this stuff up, put it on there. A lot of doing work is getting everything in place, and then be like, okay, I'll do it later. And then later comes and hey, you end up doing it because hey, everything's in place. Great. Well, anyway, oh, what a day. And I gotta rest. I've been working way too much for a guy who's sick, So trying to not be sick. Sorry, I got the light here. Trying to not be sick, but man, it is tough. Between the, I don't have flu and I don't have anything bad, just something took my voice away in the past few days. And then I had nerve pains for the past 2 months, especially, that sent me to the emergency room each of those months. 2 months ago, I went twice to the emergency room. I'm trying to figure things out because there's a lot of big changes that are happening in my body. And that's what my nerves are trying to tell me with these extended headaches. So anyway, I'll just keep on sweating, I guess. Speaking of which, I need to replace the upstairs air conditioner. Window air conditioners and portable air conditioners, replace them. They're just not designed, unless you have the quality control system and setup for the place that manufactured the air conditioners. There's no way you can duplicate that result. You have to have that quality control, or else you're just rejecting the possibility of freon leaks, and you don't want that. And other failures that happen that are not scheduled to happen with the original quality control for that long period of time. If you were trying to extend it, some people have access to the R410A, R410A, but again, what's missing is quality control. So just go replace the unit every 4 years, every 3 years. Pull that son of a gun out and put it back in with a new one. The only problem with the new R410A, that's being phased out with stuff that's less powerful. So now a window air conditioning unit that used to be able to be 15 inches in width now has to be 21 inches in width, maybe 25. What? Because of the legislations going away from the use of R410A, which is very stronger. I think it's Freon. I think to go to a lesser power, a lesser potent formula for rich refrigerant. So ain't one thing, it's another. But yeah, I got to replace the air conditioning unit with another one. However I have to, because I cannot be like cooking when I'm trying to repair stuff. I'm not a cook. I gotta go. This is Jeremy, Mr. Variety, just doing another update here on Who Needs Designers on YouTube. It's Who Needs Designers, all one word. WHONEEDSDESIGNERS. Who Needs Designers. My website is whoneedsdesigners.com, which is actually WHONEEDSDEZIGNERS. whoneedsdesigners.com with a Z. Thanks for joining me. I'll keep updating. I'll keep improving. As long as I keep my health above all, I'll keep improving as well. So I got one hand in my pocket, and the other one's hanging on to my health. Eat that, Atlantis Morphset. I gotta go. Jeremy, thanks. Cue the music.
Visit twitch.tv/music forum, twitch.tv/music forum. Who needs designers.com. Scan the code.